Welcome back, and thank you for participating in this series, Project Neighbors. We hope it's been useful, and we certainly would love to hear your feedback. This final session is about the virtue of peace, or shalom, as we know it in Hebrew. It's one that has importance for my own understanding of God, so much so that the Hebrew word shalom is engraved into my crozier that I carry. I'm writing this on the morning after the presidential election, and last night I prayed Compline and again recited one of my favorite collects of the entire prayer book. It's on page 134. Keep watch, dear Lord, over those who work or watch or weep this night. Give your angels charge over those who sleep. Tend the sick, Lord Christ. Give rest to the weary. Bless the dying. Soothe the suffering. Pity the afflicted. Shield the joyous, and all for your love's sake. I don't know where you are in this prayer, whether you're in need of some tending, comforting, soothing, or shielding. There's room for all of us somewhere in this prayer. Even more, whether you are joyous or sad, hopeful or scared, all of us, I think, would do well to give ourselves once again to the peace of God, which surpasses all our understanding. We're all now in a time of transition. I don't like transitions. Transitions can be disorienting. Transitions are kind of like sailing in the middle of a stormy sea with no clear shore on the horizon. There's the loss of the familiar and the still yet unknown of what lies ahead. There are waves of ambiguity, anticipation, grief, curiosity, and hope. Once upon a time, the disciples of Jesus were locked up in a room that must have felt like a stormy sea. The implausible news had reached them that Jesus is alive, and still they did not yet know what to do with that news. They were stuck in transition, somewhere between joy and doubt, hope and fear. And suddenly Jesus is right there in the midst of them, and He speaks the very same word that He spoke over a stormy sea when they were also bound up in their fear. Peace, shalom. And then this word, shalom, in Hebrew is more than a, hey, how are you, or I'm back. In fact, it was the pronouncement of God's judgment. Peace be with you. I forgive you. It was also an invitation to join Jesus in an entirely new creation named peace. This is the hope of those of us who call Jesus as our Lord, shalom. That in the end there will be a day when death will be no more, pain will be no more, and all that is lost will be redeemed, all will be put back together. But I don't think of this idea of peace as simply the absence of conflict or a deep bliss found in solitude. It is not simply the wishful thinking of a happily ever after life. No, the shalom of God is literally the putting back together of all creation in wholeness. This peace is not just a day at the end of time that we are waiting for, but it's also reality that we are to manifest in our time and to work for. It is found in our presence and engagement with the world. As the Catechism in our prayer book claims, peace is the mission of the Church because it's the work of restoration of all people in unity with God and each other. Thus, peace is not some pie-in-the-sky heavenly destination. Rather, it's found in our hands and our hearts, right smack in the middle of a stormy, scary mess of this world. Listen again to what Jesus tells His followers in that upper room. As the Father has sent me, so I now send you. In other words, we are now sent forth into this world to work for peace. And Jesus speaks of this same peace on the mountain with His followers when He says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." And He Himself is a peacemaker. In the Garden of Gethsemane, when the disciples were ready to go to battle for Him, and Jesus tells Peter to put down his sword. And later on, Paul will tell the early church in Rome, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. For me, this work of peace is framed maybe the best in a prayer familiar to many that is attributed to St. Francis that begins, "Lord, make us instruments of your peace." And in the Sessions study guide, I invite you to use that prayer as a way to consider your own work of being a peacemaker. With all that said, you have to know that this work of peace is not for the faint-hearted. because it means a life of self-sacrifice, like putting down our proverbial swords. It means making a commitment to solidarity with others when we might prefer to dismiss them. It means being in proximity to people when we would rather distance ourselves from them. It means letting loose of our need to be right in order to remain together. Richard Rohr urges us, instead of pulling away from those you suspect, avoid, or reject, you see them as neighbors. You smile, you talk, you try to collaborate for the common good in whatever ways you can. And when you disagree, as you must, you do so boldly, but also graciously, not burning bridges, not breaking solidarity. They may be your opponents for the moment, but you do not write them off as enemies. I wonder about what we need to put down in order to find our way together. I wonder what hurt we might need to let go. I wonder who we need to unbind from our self-imposed verdict. I wonder what idea we need to relax. I wonder about the smaller groupings like politics, ideology, even religion that we might put down in order to claim again that greater bond of love that binds us all together in God. After all, the truth is that we are all made of the eternal love of God. We share that truth with all people. We are made for each other and given to each other for the sake of unity and community that we name as peace. So as you consider your life as a peacemaker, may we be guided by this one simple small thought. There is somebody in everybody. Let's do what we can to discover and know the somebody in everybody. May that be our goal, that we are now sent forth. May it lead us onward to the horizon of God's shalom.